Hello fellow game makers and welcome back to another tutorial. Importing meshes into Unity is easy. For example, you can just drag and drop blenders.blend files into Unity and you're good to go. But you may have noticed that if you make a more complex texture in Blender, Unity can't import those textures. Anyway, if Unity can import the materials, it will create many materials. If you just have a few models, this probably won't be a problem. But in general, Unity doesn't like big amounts of materials, and that's where texture baking becomes relevant. It might not be the best solution, because it can take pretty long and you have to do it for every single model. It would be great if Unity and Blender could work together to somehow make importing blending materials into Unity less of a pain, but till then we just have to use texture baking. That being said, I'm not going to show you how you can import blending materials into Unity. And if you would like to see more tutorials, check out my other videos. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff to help me make more of those videos. So first of all, I have this little model right here. It's just a little vase I made. I'm not good at modeling or something. I think it's okay. And I also made a little material for it, right here. Just a bit of stuff right here, a few notes. Not much stuff. And I want to get this vase into Unity. But before we're doing that, we first of all have to do a few things in Blender. Go to the UV editing tab and UV unwrap your model. You can go back to the shading tab and change your render engine to cycles. If you have a material that is just compatible with Eevee, I can't help you because texture baking just works in cycles. That's a bit of a problem. I also changed your GPU device to GPU compute, so it's a bit faster. Then actually you can start texture baking. If you go to this little printer icon, you can set your resolution. I'm gonna set mine to 2048 to 48 to get a 4K image. Maybe it's a bit too much because it's just a little prop, and I probably, if I use it, I would just put it in the background somewhere, maybe on a shelf. Maybe a 1K texture would also be okay, but I just want to show you how it could look. Then you can go to the this little camera icon right here and go scroll down till you have this bake menu right here, and then you can start baking your images. I like to do one bake just with the combined image, and you can just click on bake and it will display the image right here. You then also have to save this image. You can do so by clicking Shift S and select the place where you want to save it. In my case, this would, for example, look like this. Just a UV unwrapped image texture that can then be assembled. And I also, for my model, I need a glossy because I have some glossy stuff right here. So I can then go to glossy, and I then just want the color paths, so you can uncheck those both things and also bake. And of course I also need a normal map. You can just leave those things as they are, and that's pretty much it you have to do in Blender. Of course, if you need more maps, you can export them, but these are just the maps I need. And we can then jump into Unity, and what you then need is your .blend file. You can just drag and drop it right into your project view right here and import it. There we go. And you also can import your free texture maps. I like to select all of these free texture maps, and now we just have to set the normal map, of course, to be a normal map in Unity, so that it knows that it's a normal map. Click apply, and there we go. We can then drag our vase into our scene view. We can reset our transform, and we just have to rotate it on the X, because somehow Blender and Unity have different coordinate systems. I think Unity uses the left-handed coordinate system where the Y is the top coordinate, and Blender uses the right-handed coordinate system where the Z coordinate is on top. So you can really see that right here. Normally the vase would be opened right here and it's the top, and also that's where the Z-axis is pointing, but in Unity the Y-axis is on top. So we just have to rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis. So just type right here -90, -90, not 91, and there we have it fixed. If we now click on our vase right here, we can see that we have a materials tab right here. Click on it and we can see that there is currently no material applied. It would be so cool if Unity could automatically create a material for us, but apparently it can't, so we have to use those textures. So I have a materials folder right here where I can now create a new material and call this vase. And also go back to our normal maps and drag them into the or texture maps and drop them into materials. And I don't really like this standard shader, so I switched to the Autodesk interactive shader. I don't know, it's just personal preference. And yeah, basically you can now start drag and dropping your maps into the corresponding slots. So the vase, this is the combined version, is an albedo map as well as a ambient occlusion map. You can drag the glossy into the roughness and of course the normal into the normal. What you can then do is go back to your vase prefab. It's actually a prefab if you want to. You can see that here is the material slot and I can now apply my vase material right here. Click on apply. And you can see that we now have our vase. I don't like the occlusion right here, so I just turn it down until it's just this light subtle effect. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Of course, you can see it's not as high-res as in Blender, because in Blender the textures here are procedural and can be way higher. Sadly, this does not work in Unity. Yeah, though it's, I think, a pretty nice model. And I'm maybe gonna use this later on. This technique works in the Unity internal render I used right here, but you can also use scriptable render pipelines like the lightweight render pipeline or the high definition render pipeline HDRP. If I were in one of those, I would create a shader graph and just use the node-based system as in Blender, where we just have this like a principled BSDF in Blender. You then have a PBR output, it's called, and you can just drag and drop those image textures in there. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If yes, maybe consider subscribing and liking this video. It would really help me to continue making more videos. If you want to learn more about Blender, you should really check out Jonathan. I will link his channel in the description, and he makes great tutorials for Blender users. Okay, so see you in the next one.